Good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting this evening, Thursday, February 11th. This meeting is being recorded for LCTV, aired live, and also being live streamed through longmeadow.org. This meeting was also posted as required by the open meeting law. This evening, we do have two of our school committee members participating remotely, one due to distance and one due to illness. So our votes this evening will need to be roll call votes. So let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Longmeadow School Committee maintains educational policies that foster continuous improvement by challenging and supporting all children in a safe and caring learning environment, enabling them to reach their highest potential and to become productive citizens. Through effective communication and positive relationships, the Longmeadow School Committee will make informed decisions in the best interest of the students, the schools, and the Longmeadow community. Correspondence for this meeting, Kim?
Yes, there is correspondence for this meeting. An emailed letter from Ms. Christina Fleming dated February 5th regarding full-day kindergarten. An emailed letter from Mr. Anthony Santos dated February 6th regarding full-day kindergarten program. An emailed letter from Ms. Jess Hutchins dated February 8th regarding the scheduled postponement of the public hearing on the budget. Another email note from Ms. Jessica Hutchins dated February 8th regarding the public hearing postponement. An emailed letter from Lee and Joel Vengo dated February 8th regarding the pre-scheduled public hearing on the budget. A letter from Ms. Lorraine Ho dated February 5th regarding free full-day kindergarten. An emailed letter from Ms. Emily Chandler dated February 9th regarding full-day kindergarten. And an emailed note from Ms. Kayla Werlin on behalf of Jeffrey Schmelkin and Abigail Glick regarding the FY17 budget hearing.
Okay. So we will go back to our discussion on the budget, which we began last evening with the public hearing and then school committee discussion. And then we will be voting on a budget to present to the town this evening. So I know when we left last night, late last night, we had asked for a revised numbers to make sure everything that we have been talking about and at the meeting and doing was correct. So Tom, can I just?
It's over there.
Thanks.
So, you have a one-page spreadsheet that Sue will put up onto the projector in a minute. And what I tried to do here was capture the discussion at the end of our discussion last night in regards to the changes you wanted to see implemented into the FY17 budget. So we started with basically the financials in the budget that was presented to you on Monday, February 1st, with a budget, general fund budget increase of $1,085,975.69. We then incorporated $102,000 in one-time either budget cuts or revenue enhancements that were discussed last night and presented in Marie's, the superintendent's presentation. Gave you a new revised general fund number of $983,975.69. Next, we then added back the 4 middle school teachers that were originally scheduled to be reduced from the budget as you requested. So we added them back in at a cost of $219,500. Then we were able to reduce 0.4 of the foreign language increase that was scheduled to be needed at Williams with the reduction of those 4 positions. So we took that out at a reduction of $23,517.60. And then you also asked that the Tier 3 cuts that were recommended, there was $61,976.81 worth of reductions, which included the library aid at the high school. It included the 5th grade health curriculum. It included 5,000 of cuts in staff development, 5,000 of reductions in technology, and $7,250 in basic administrative expenses. So we included those, but we also added 5,000 to the staff development cuts and 5,000 to the technology cuts for an additional 10,000 in reductions. So the new general fund total is $1,108,000.28. And then on lines 11 and 12, you can see that the town originally had proposed an allocation in the general fund or an increase to the FY17 budget of $808,832, which would be an additional, we would need an additional request in the general fund of $299,168.28. So assuming that I captured everything that you had requested, it should be summarized here, and I did leave at your spots tonight the revised financials. So there are new control masters, budget by fund, control group, and a budget summary report that has the total general fund amount and the total budget amount also. But this, I specifically just wanted to break down the general fund, since that was really the piece the town has to fund that impacts the overall town budget.
All right, so one question that I know I have, and then I'll open it up to the rest of the school committee. The additional 10,000 from PD and technology. I don't remember that from last night, but I may have missed it, and if so, are both departments comfortable with that, of
Yeah.
both technology and professional development can manage with the additional 5,000
I'm
reduction?
happy about it, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we reduce the professional development, we're talking about less consultants, more in-house work?
Yeah, there were two lines. One was the a supply. We cut the PD instructional supply line by $5,000, and we cut the contractual expense line in the PD budget by $5,000. So it's going to be both materials and contractual services.
But we could potentially fund it, I mean, we don't want to, we've had this conversation every year, but we could fund it out of one time.
Yeah, if
Depending on what
if
it
the
is.
resources,
If it's a resource.
yeah, if the resources are there, you
Yeah.
could.
I mean, if it's a speaker, that's a little bit different than a material. But, and you're obviously not ideally looking to spend, what could be a recurring cost from one-time funds. But if it is someone coming in and doing a workshop for the day, that is kind of a one-time, potentially, depending on how often they come.
Yeah, if it's a one and done kind of shot,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And maybe when we're doing our sort of like real line item budgeting and we're trying to contract, maybe we shift our kind of one and done stuff.
Well, Tom's agreed to do a lot of PD next year, so.
Perfect. That's all we need.
But you can't rely on that he's saying we pull from, which fund?
No, I can't say we can be certain that we'll have either excess funds at the end of the year or school choice money available to support, transferring the expenses that, or the revenue, the line items that are being reduced here.
Especially since we're taking stuff out of.
And technology?
Technology, going along with what Nick proposed last night, so seeing how the technology department supports both the school and the town, the reduction was shared. So 8,000 was cut to the repair maintenance line for school equipment, and 2,000 was cut from the repair maintenance line on the town side. In both instances, it's between 35 and 40% of the total line item. And again, some years we're above that. If network equipment goes and we have to invest in repairing something to keep the operation going, we do. And we find a way to come up with the money to make sure that operations are not impacted by it. In terms of the $7,200, there were some $500 cuts to printing and postage, both in the admin and the PS budgets. There was a reduction to the food service line, the money that we appropriate in case our food service program runs deficit. We did have a deficit this past year of 62,000, 65,000, I forget the exact number. And then we also cut $2,000 in bus monitors. That line, it's a pay-as-you-go type of program, so we don't necessarily know every year exactly how much our costs are going to be. It really is dependent upon our riders and the needs. So it does fluctuate anywhere from 85 to 100,000 in the past years. So we have 100 budgeted, so we're cutting 2,000 to come up with the reduction, that 7,250 that the admin budget needed to come up with.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I wasn't following there. So the 7,250 is bus monitor,
Yeah,
2,000?
Yep, 3,250 to the food service line. There was $500 cuts to the printing and postage and admin. $500 cut to the postage and pupil services, and $500 to the travel and pupil services.
Thank you, I'm sorry. I just wasn't following along there. All right, anybody else? Questions, comments? Michelle, do you have anything, questions, comments?
Michelle?
John?
I'm here, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Okay.
John?
Yeah, let me just say, I've been on the committee since 2008, and we've been forced by the select board to take gradually more and more cuts to what they've usually euphemistically called the level service budget. In fact, it has not been a level service budget. And I'm very happy to see that the board has decided to stand up for their principal responsibility, and that's the students. So I support what you're proposing. This budget seems to me still a compromise, but it's a lot better than what the select board is asking the town to accept. So I support my colleagues on the school committee, and I hope we take it forward to town meeting, and we'll let the voters decide. And so I'm happy to cast my vote for it. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, John. And that's not to say that we still won't be trying to work with the town officials, in trying to be collaborative about working about whatever budget we put forth to try to balance it prior to town meeting. However, just as a reminder, whatever we vote on this evening is the budget we're putting forward, and that should be noted for presentation at town meeting. Anybody else? Russ? Oh, me?
Okay, for it.
Michael?
All right, so I'm very pleased to see that we're able to come up with a budget that I think is reflective of our values. And I think that one of the things that we haven't done in previous years, and I think it's because of how we've tried to approach the budget, is we haven't used our budget as a tool to talk about our aspirations. And, I think the one thing that characterizes what we do in Long Meadow is we aspire. We aspire to, to have all of our students graduate and go off to great schools. We aspire to have world-class music programs, and we aspire to have all students learn at high levels. And I think we have a budget that accomplishes those things to what we can do. And we may find ourselves in May facing that reality. But I think that we have to move forward in the manner that we are and communicate with the community about what we value. And that's what this budget really does, is it talks about our values. For 2 years, we've talked about full-day kindergarten for free. And we've incrementally gotten closer, and I think that's laudable. I think that we've also made a statement this year where we've been very clear this year that it's a priority for this board. We value, having low class size. We have a budget in front of us that does those things, that doesn't eliminate a section of teacher or a team of teachers at Williams. We value, we value everything that's in this budget, and I think that we need to use this budget as a tool to communicate what we really believe in. And there's going to be people in the community who don't agree with us, and that's okay, because that's the point of having a community and a democracy, is we don't always agree, and we have a civil discourse. But we can't be afraid of what we're not going to be getting, and we can't be afraid of what outcomes we may face. There is a very real possibility that if we end up going to town meeting and attempting to amend the budget on the floor, that we don't get everything we've asked for. And we'll have to make real policy decisions that affect real people. But the cost of not doing that right now is far greater than facing that in May. Because I think the one thing the community is looking at us for is leadership. This is an opportunity for leadership. This is an opportunity for us to define what we value. And so I'm supportive of this budget. It's not pleasant, and we're not getting everything we need, and we're never going to get everything we need. But if we don't take the time to talk about the things that we really do find important, then we're never going to get there. And so I'm supportive of going forward with a budget that is a lot more than what we're being given, about $300,000 more. But if we don't do it, we're never going to get the chance to get where we need to go. And so I think that we need to plan for every outcome. We need to be, when we communicate with the community, we need to let them know that this is not a sure thing and that we may have to face some unpleasant realities come May. But if we don't move forward in this manner, we're going to be losing a lot more.
Well said.
Russ?
I didn't even prepare that.
So, I wanted to kind of go through a couple things. One is, we have the Williams team back in, and my understanding is, I think, we've worked out the number of blocks as well with the union, so that's good.
We have a tentative agreement. We need to talk to the team.
Okay, good. So I think that's very positive, and everybody seems to be working well together on that issue. We also have music back in the budget as we're proposing it. And we have kindergarten included as part of public education. So I think all those things are very positive, but I also want to walk through the things that we're not doing, just so it's clear that we're not just saying we're putting everything back into this budget and we're not giving in any way at all. Mm-hmm. So when I looked through what we're still cutting, we still have the Blueberry Elementary School teachers being cut. We have a .6 Blueberry Hill special ed teacher, .5 center kindergarten teacher, .5 center kindergarten assistant, 3 district special ed assistants, and then we have the other reductions that we listed previously, which are 2 middle school library assistants, out-of-district tuition, school choice funding, attrition, and then other miscellaneous. Now, obviously, we have some additions. We took out one of the additions, which was health. But when I look at that total, which is almost $550,000, in addition to that, last night, we came up with another 102 that the town requested, and the one-time either reductions or revenue decrease. And then we also came up with another 71,000 in addition last night, most of the tier 3 cuts. So the total is roughly $720,000.
That we're reducing.
That we're reducing one way or the other. Now, of course, Williams isn't an ad because we already have that. Kindergarten's an ad. But most, when you look at level services, is this really it even at this point? No, it's still not. But we're much closer to that, which is good. And I don't think we can ask the town realistically to be completely level services because they don't have the money either. So I do think this is a good compromise, but I wanted to point out to really the public and all of us to talk about that this isn't, we're cutting, we're still cutting. It's just we're trying to keep the key pieces that we really need in this budget, which are music and Williams Middle School team which I do think, looking at those enrollments, I wouldn't say that that's a forever thing. Maybe someday it'll make sense. I just don't think it makes sense now. And I'm actually hoping that we can, potentially what we could do is have a joint meeting with the board and explain our rationale directly and ask them if we can come up, if they will agree to this budget so that we can go to the town together and support it as a whole. Which would be preferable. If we can't do that, then I guess we can't do that and we have to go to town meeting. But obviously that's thrown out as an idea. I don't know what you all think of that.
I like the idea. I don't mind a joint discussion with them to, explain where we are on our budget and why we did what we did. I think it's, it's
Luckily, the
try.
chair of the finance committee's here, so he's understanding the whole thing.
No, and certainly I can, make that proposal to the select board, whether it be that, we come on one of their nights, be added to their agenda, or vice versa, that, we can have this discussion directly with them, with all of us, rather than just, a single representative. I'm more than happy to put that request in.
Yeah, and I'm thinking more a kind of civil conversation about, and sometimes it's better to be face-to-face and actually explain why you're asking for what you're asking for.
Yeah.
And, they may or may not be watching our meetings, so, and just like we don't watch all of their meetings, so.
Right.
It would be a way to actually directly tell them why we think we need middle school and kindergarten.
As opposed to the message being transported on from other meetings and from other individuals.
Yeah.
Sorry, we just lost John.
Michelle, we still got you?
I'm still here.
Okay.
And yes, I will say, I think that's a great idea, the joint meeting, if they want to talk about anything that we've kind of figured out in the last week. I think that'd be a great idea.
Hi, John.
Okay, and so I will certainly put that request out to them, and I'll report back once I hear something.
Could you let John know too? John, how much of that did you hear?
I didn't hear any of that.
Okay.
Go ahead now.
So what Russ was proposing, John, is that we have a joint meeting with the select board where in a face-to-face dialogue, we can explain what we're doing with our budget, why it's important to us, and how we've already made cuts, even though we are asking for more. Just as a matter of, being able to have that conversation with them directly rather than information being given back to them from, second or third hand from individual meetings.
Well, I think we've had enough meetings with the select board. They know where we're coming from. We should just send our response to the budget. So I would not vote in favor of having yet one more meeting with the select board.
Okay. Any other questions, comments about the budget?
Well, I think in regard to the joint meeting, John, what I'm still willing to, I'm not saying we need their approval, but what I'd like to do is talk to them about it. If we can't get their approval, then we go to town meeting and we say we need the money. I'm not saying it's mutually exclusive. I'd like to do both if we have to. I'd much prefer to have the board say, I just want to explain why we're doing what we're doing. They may or may not take that explanation, but I'd at least like to try and explain it to them. That's all I'm saying.
If we're submitting the budget tomorrow, then it's not really an explaining of, can we do this? It's, this is
why.
This is what
This is
we're
why.
doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I just had a question, Tom. So, the number that we ask for from them, is it the general fund number?
Yes, that is
Okay.
the amount the town
Okay.
would fund.
Okay. I just want to double check. Okay.
All right, anyone else? Michelle?
No?
John?
No, I'm all set.
The only thing I'm going to add, just to kind of talk about the proposal for a joint meeting, I agree with John in a sense, because I think that we talk to them a lot and there's not a whole lot of reception, but I think that, John, I do think we need to go and at least articulate why we've done what we've done, and if they disagree, they disagree, and they're going to. But it gives us another opportunity to try to sell our budget, and I think that that's how we have to view it. We have to look at it as it's a sales pitch, and we're not really talking to them, we're talking to everybody else. So, you know, it's really, we gotta just focus on who our audience is in this, and it's really the community.
Maybe it's going to one of their meetings, not asking them to join one of ours. Maybe
Yeah.
it's us, like we did
Appear.
with that kindergarten, when you presented kindergarten.
Just asking to be put on their agenda.
I think most of us were at that meeting anyway, in the audience, and Janet got up and spoke. I feel like maybe we could do something like that to kind of, you know, we've presented our budget, now here's why we you know, are hoping that you'll support our budget,
Right.
our higher budget. I don't know.
And I'm not completely, you know, I'm hoping maybe the board will agree. I mean, maybe maybe I'm crazy, but at least I want to give it a shot.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's $299, what we're asking for an increase, with the idea that we'll get about 100 grand back in Chapter 70 the following year. So really, it's $199 the following year.
Your money.
It's a loan, they've got
Glad you
the...
don't balance my checkbook.
Kim balances hers in round numbers.
No, I'm thinking free cash is, they've always told us is one-time use, and we've used one-time use, we've used it in different areas around the town. I feel like this year, we could use 100 grand of it towards kindergarten, and then we're asking them
And
for
you
100.
backfill it in.
What?
You backfill it in.
And then, yeah.
Right. I guess the only thing that I would caution us against is getting comfortable with relying on that increased Chapter 70 money, because the legislation could change as the Commonwealth approaches a mandate of full-day kindergarten. I think you'll have transition funds, but eventually there'll be an expectation, I'm sure, that those funds go away. So
I'm sure it'll be at the same time we reach our levy limit.
I'm sure it'll be exactly then. So all I would say is, like, we should never count on state revenues or state aid to keep us where we need to be. You know, this is for the state, it's a very tight budget year. For the town, it's a tight budget year. I think the town's lucky to see the level of 70 and unrestricted local aid that it's seeing. It's probably the largest increase in a couple of years. But we have to, you know, obviously consider that that's not going to be the same next year or the year after. We hope it is, but it may not be.
Thanks, negative.
I'm just trying to be
I
a
guess-
realist.
I totally agree with that. And usually I'm very conservative financially, but I think in this particular case, we have something we need to accomplish
Yep.
and finish. We cannot talk about kindergarten for the next 5 years.
Nope.
And so, if we do it completely, we are going to get something from the state.
Right.
You know, it might not be 100, maybe it's 80, you know, whatever it is.
Right.
But we'll get something. And I don't think it's really productive. I mean, forgetting the finances for a minute, this is just not productive as a town to constantly fight about this year after year.
There's plenty of better stuff to fight
And it
about.
is, I will tell you this, I know a lot of families that are in that boat that moved into town, and I'll tell you, they are surprised at paying for kindergarten, because nobody else, it's one of those things where you come in and you're just shocked because it doesn't happen anywhere else. I mean,
I don't think it's really productive.
so hopefully,
Just make sure you said it right.
I like the playback.
He just
so
turned it
anyway,
on the
I mean,
TV.
and that's one piece of it, but the other probably even bigger piece at the moment is we also have the Williams Middle School issue. I mean, everything we have in music, everything that we are presenting to the town, I think, is very important for the town and the school and the kids and the parents. So I don't see anything on here that I could personally say, well, I really wouldn't mind eliminating this. I mean, I think the budget we did eliminate a lot of things. This is really what's left.
Right. We've eliminated as much as we can, you know, without drastically increasing class sizes or
Reducing
decreasing services.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
All right, would you like a motion?
I would be happy to entertain a motion.
Okay, I move that the school committee, oh wait, hold on. Let's do the Lower Pioneer Valley one first, or do you need to explain
Well,
that?
I don't,
The budget.
the order doesn't matter. I just
Okay.
want to make sure that the committee is on record authorizing the use of that credit so that in case it's ever questioned how those funds were used, it was in your minutes and approved to incorporate it into FY17's budget. And
Right.
on the second motion, I would just ask that you put the date of February 11th on that. I should ask Diane to include that. I apologize for not having that included, but just so that we're clear on what budget you're approving also, the one dated today.
Okay, so
All right, so
the February 11th for the
The second motion, yeah.
second motion, okay. Any?
we'll do the credit first?
Yes, okay. I move that the school committee approve the use of Lower Pioneer Valley Education Collaborative credit in the amount of $56,650 in the FY17 budget to offset special education transportation costs.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. With remote participation, we will need a roll call vote, so I'll start with you, Liz.
Liz?
Michael Clark, aye.
John?
Did we turn it down so you can't hear us?
John?
Yeah?
Roll call vote for approving the Lower Pioneer Valley credit of $56,650 to offset special education transportation costs.
Yes, I vote yes.
Okay, Janet Robinson, aye.
Kim King, aye.
Russell Dupre, aye.
Michelle?
Michelle Grotzky, aye.
Okay.
Okay, secondly, I move that the school committee approve the FY 2017 proposed school department budget for February 11th, 2016 in the amount of $36,168,795.54 with a general fund allocation of $33,203,629.40 and submit this amount to the town manager for inclusion at the annual town meeting Tuesday, May 10th, 2016.
I second.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Again, requiring a roll call vote.
Liz, yes.
Michael Clark, aye.
John?
We turned it down.
He said aye.
He said John votes aye.
He said
Janet
aye.
Robinson, aye.
Kim King, aye.
Russell Dupre, aye.
Michelle Grotzky, aye.
Okay.
So basically on the FY17 revised budget, we're revising it to that number, 36,168.
And that is in these documents that I left for you.
Yeah.
And Michelle, they're on the school committee's site. I don't know if you can hear me.
I got them already, Thomas.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, we didn't get them out till about 4 o'clock
watching
today,
live
so
stream.
nobody's really had a chance to look at them, but it's, they are the updated financials with the information we covered today.
Yes, I saw them. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And this information will
yours.
be
Mine's right here.
posted on the website.
Tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And we're gonna use hashtag Long Meadow Budget. Should we tweet about this?
Sure.
All
Well, we
right.
have hashtag Long Meadow, don't we have? LPS?
Well,
Twitter person, that thing.
So,
I'm not tweeting anything.
not to extend the meeting longer, but if I can bring up sort of a related topic, can I be indulged to do so?
Okay.
Sure.
We also gotta do whether we're gonna meet with the board or not.
Right. So I think that we, should construct somewhat of a communications strategy around what we've done, and I think that we need to talk about what we're actually, what the highlights of this budget are. We need to talk about the fact that we're saving 4th and 5th grade music. We need to talk about the fact that we're funding full-day kindergarten, that we're retaining the traveling, or the team at Williams, that it might be a traveling team, but we need to talk.
So could we defer that to the communications committee?
Yeah.
Just gonna look and see who that is.
I think it's me, and maybe one other person, or 2 other people. So I think that we should. I obviously see that we've got many members of the press here tonight. We're missing one. There's only 3 news outlets. But we should obviously think about doing a press release to announce that what we've done, and we should think about, taking the opportunity to highlight individual parts of our budget. We also need to talk about what's not included, and I think that Russell's right about that. We need to talk about the things that we've cut to get to this point, and that this isn't an easy decision, and this is not another instance of the school department being the school department and trying to get everything we want. We're not getting everything we want, and we've made a lot of sacrifices to get to this point, but we need to demonstrate that we've balanced this is a balanced approach that we've taken, and that we're very thoughtful in the request we're making.
So could I ask that the communications committee draft that to have
Yeah.
it ready? I know we're going to be on break,
We'll
but
get it out for
get it out
Monday.
as quickly as possible.
Tuesday. It's President's Day,
Okay.
but we'll get it out.
Can't get on there.
I don't know if we'll be able to meet, so I think if the communications committee's okay with me, or if the members are okay with me drafting something.
I'll let you communicate with your members.
Okay.
I believe you're chair of communications.
Yeah, well, I would just ask the members if the committee's okay with me drafting something and confirming it with the appropriate staff members that it's accurate.
I can't get on to see who the other members are.
All right, I just don't know if we have time,
I don't know that you can formally meet, but you can certainly have a working document that,
Yeah, do it in Google Docs.
Google Docs, so you
and
can
share it.
share and work on that. So I'll leave that up to you all.
I think that's a good idea. I mean,
Okay.
Ultimately, from an unofficial point of view, all of us are really going to have to be out there saying this is important.
Right. And if we
whatever
have,
communication method
Right,
we
and
use.
we'll be drafting talking points, so please stick
and
to
by
them.
drafting the talking points, we can all have the same basis
Yeah.
of which to work off of.
And I think what we also need to do, the budget summary, the budget book that's being compiled, all of those things are good. They're also very much a data dump in a lot of ways. So we should really kind of just come up with a bulleted short list of accomplishments.
Right. And then all of those things not only go to the press, go to us for talking points, go
They
on the
go to the
website.
community. Yeah, anything that we share is obviously already a public document, so we're not going to be getting anything the community's not going to be getting. So, but we should, and I think that this is a good test for how we begin to communicate more effectively going forward.
So with that, and I know Russ, you had requested or suggested that we have a joint meeting with the select board, and I think Kim had suggested that we request to be put on their agenda, similarly to how we had done it for kindergarten, to have that discussion.
Okay.
So I know that several of us said we're interested. I know somebody said that they weren't. I don't know if we need a vote, or do we just need consensus?
So can I ask, so how are we going to structure the meeting? Is it going to be you and the chair of finance sub going to the select board and presenting the budget, or is it going to be a joint meeting where the school committee and the select board meet?
I think we should all be there.
I was thinking joint meeting, like we did on the budget.
Okay.
So you're talking about like the October meeting, so a special meeting for both?
But maybe it's at one of their meetings.
At one of their meetings.
Where we're just an agenda item and
If they
we-
give us
We're all there.
half an hour to 45 minutes, where we could just go in and, because they're going to have questions for us, so at least we can try to answer their questions and explain why we think it's necessary. I don't think we should, debate with the board. I think we should just
Present it.
black and white, this is why we think we need what we need, and they can ask us questions, and then they're going to make the decision they're going to make, but I at least want to give them the opportunity to do that with us, and then, maybe we're all out there communicating publicly that we need this, or maybe we're not, I don't know.
All
Who's
right.
going to give the overview of the budget? Are you going to give it, or am I going to give it, or how would you like that done?
What are your,
I think we should ask them if they want one, because we can give them the PowerPoint in advance.
And they've probably watched
I don't know
yesterday's meeting.
I don't know how much time they're going to want to give us in one of their
I don't think you
meetings.
need to do the whole
So-
PowerPoint, but somebody should give an overview of what
like the
this is about.
overview of what Michael's talking about in the
Communication.
press
Yeah.
release or that,
Right.
just to highlight,
Yeah,
here's
I
what we've
think
done.
Superintendent
cut.
Doyle did a good job
Right.
presenting it, so, I'd probably say you would do a briefer version
I'll
of
do
what we
a
got.
briefer version, and we'll work with Tom and Sue, and we'll come up with a brief version, and then you can have the discussion, so they know what we're presenting. Okay.
All right, so
Their
I guess-
Sorry, their next meetings, next Tuesday, but
Yeah, we're not
they
going to get
don't
on that
have,
agenda. I'm going to
I
have
know,
to submit.
they don't have any other meetings posted yet, so.
Well, they're the first and third. We're the second and fourth.
I know,
and
I'm just
first
saying.
and third.
Right, so I will, and I do
This is a
know
holiday.
that Richard Foster is on vacation right now, too, so
Yeah, he's on vacation until next.
he's coming back. He'll be at their next meeting.
Oh, he will.
So, I will definitely, if we have consensus, I will definitely email him with what we've just discussed about could we get put on their agenda. We will make sure they have the materials ahead of time. Could we have about 30 or 45 minutes? Superintendent Doyle give a summary, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions jointly. Not that we wish to engage them in a debate, but just to explain where we're coming from. So I'm not sure, did you want to vote, or do you want consensus?
I think it's fine.
I don't
Just
think we
say
need to
we're
vote.
asking you to go to the chair of the select board and
Okay.
ask.
It's just a request. I mean, if they say no, they don't
Okay.
have to meet with us,
Right.
obviously, so.
Right. And I support that, and I think that's a great idea.
All right. So with that, is there anything else? Then I'd be happy to entertain a motion to
Oh,
adjourn.
Finance committee?
We do normally.
Motion
Yeah,
to
we do.
adjourn.
Hold on.
Withdraw that.
Oh, withdraw.
Yeah, so we do and I know Jim Law is here from the finance committee, and we've been invited already, I believe.
Yes, you have.
So historically, the chair of the school committee and the chair of finance subcommittee would attend together and just kind of go through what we've already voted. The full school committee usually does not meet with the finance committee, but obviously I'm sure they'd be more than happy to have all of us if
I
we want to
normally
go.
present every year.
Normally
Finance,
it's,
too.
the
I
superintendent
go-
presents, Tom is there with,
Yep.
and the chair of the
Chair.
school committee.
And that's
And we
the
do that once you
first,
approve the budget.
the first Wednesday?
I think that we would defer to the chair of,
Next meeting is March 10th, and you're more than welcome.
there you go.
We would appreciate it.
Yeah.
March 10th?
At what time?
Yeah.
Usually 7 at the fire station.
Second Wednesday, I think it's the,
Oh, it's the 9th. The second Wednesday is the 9th.
So,
The 9th.
so I will put you on the agenda.
Okay.
At what time is that?
usually 7.
At the fire station?
Yes.
We've got the Imagine concert at Symphony Hall.
Oh, yeah, I can't. My son's
Yeah.
he's required to be there.
Is there another date that we could possibly do it? It's a district-wide concert.
We're pressed with it.
Yeah.
We were originally going to try and schedule it on the 2nd, but then we weren't going to have the total budget numbers for the town. My problem is we get all the budgets last,
Sure.
and we become
always
very pressed for time rules.
Jim, would it, and,
Change that meeting of the March the 9th is a real problem.
right. Is it, and I don't want to overstep, is it a possibility to look at either Thursday the 10th or Tuesday the 8th?
Our people have commitments.
Okay.
It makes sense.
Yeah, no, I figured.
Yeah.
Well,
So the 9th.
We'll work something
we'll
out.
work it out.
I won't be there.
The 9th.
And
I won't be there. I already missed a concert
my
yesterday.
thought might be, if you do get and it isn't complete with your meeting with the select board, you might want to invite them, because last year, our meetings together, I thought were very, very informative to the members of my committee. And it might be a forum for the selectmen to listen to what you were trying to pitch to them,
You'll be there.
for
You'll
lack
be
of
at
a
Symphony
better
Hall.
word. this is.
We did used to do tri-board meetings.
Is it your daughter?
We haven't done it in a long time, and they didn't always prove to be the most productive, but we could potentially pitch doing a tri-board.
Okay, well, we'll look into that.
Remember those? Those were
I
fun.
won't be at that meeting. I will be at Symphony Hall.
All right, so we'll see what we can work out with that. So with that said, now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, Michelle.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote.
Liz.
Michael Clark, aye.
John?
John, motion to adjourn?
He said aye.
John? Aye, sorry.
Janet Robinson, aye.
Kim King, aye.
Mr. Dupre, aye.
Michelle Grotzky, aye.
All right, so thank you very much. Our next meeting is Monday, February 22nd, here at 7 PM. Everyone have a fantastic winter break.